coming along. It's my very great pleasure to welcome you along to our education webinar this evening. Just a bit of an introduction for you before we really kick off. So in terms of the purpose of our webinar, what we're here to do, we're here tonight to really introduce you to Torrens University, which is the institution that we all are here from. We'll give you an introduction to our education courses, and that really is the core focus of our session this evening, talking to you about all of the different things that we offer in the education space. And I should mention up front that this session is really designed for those of you who are thinking about education and thinking about study options. If you're already enrolled, that's okay, but it really is kind of an introduction to our courses for those who might be thinking about it. We'll tell you a little bit about what makes us different and why you might think of Torrens University above all of those other universities that are out there, and we'll make sure we have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions that you might have. As some of you have already discovered, you do have chat, and the chat function is actually the best way for you to communicate with us because it means that we can see what's happening and we can answer your questions at an appropriate sort of pause in the conversation. I'd just like to really briefly let you know who's here in the room, and then we will make a proper start. So person waving is the person talking to you right now. So my name is Tim. I'm Professor of Education and Program Director here at Torrens University. I'd like to introduce Emma Donaldson. Emma, please give everybody a wave. Emma is one of our fantastic lecturers in education here at Torrens, and you'll hear more from and about Emma as we work through the session. Mick, please give us a wave. It's Professor Mick Grimley, the Dean of Education here at Torrens, and we're very pleased that Mick is able to join us this evening. I can't ask Cheryl to give you a wave because Cheryl is on the chat rather than with a video and a microphone, but Cheryl, perhaps you could chat and type hello. So Cheryl, who's joining us this evening, is one of our course and careers advisors, and Cheryl is an education expert on that team. There you go, Cheryl's now introduced herself. And Cheryl will be keeping a really close eye on that chat as we work through the session. So any questions that come up that Cheryl might be able to help you with, she will be responding through chat. And the others of us may as well as we work through the session. So as I said, questions as they come to you, as I'm sure they will, feel free to pop those up in the chat. So the process for the session this evening is that it really is a presentation followed by question and answer. So we will work through information about all of our different courses and all of our different offerings, and then we'll make sure we have time at the end for any open-ended questions that you might have. But please do ask questions along the way, but it really helps us if you can keep those questions sort of focused on the topics that we're talking about, because it means we can stay on track and means that we'll make sure we respect your time this evening and that we can finish on time. As I said, there is plenty of time for open-ended questions at the end of the session. So having said that, I'd like you to start us off. So perhaps if you could just practice your chatting skills now and just type in a few words why you're here with us this evening, what brings you to this session, why did you come along? And if you have any particular questions that you are hoping to have answered in the session, pop them in the chat right now. So we'll give you a little bit of time, and I can see that there are actually 5 people typing right this very second. So, and now there are 7, that's great. So everyone can obviously hear me, that's great. So Liz is here and is actually already enrolled in the Voice of Autism course. That's great, Liz, welcome, thanks for coming along. We will be talking about the MOOC, which is Voices of Autism. We'll be talking about that fairly soon. And then if you have any other questions about the rest of our courses, or you'd like to hear about the other courses that we offer as well as that MOOC, then there'll be an opportunity for you to stay and hear about that. Christine is interested in further study in the area of special education, which is great because so is Karen, who's also here as a teacher interested in special education. Special education is a particular passion of ours, and it's a particular strength that we feel that Torrens Education has, and so we'll certainly take you through the different options that we have in that special education space. I'm also seeing that there's quite a few people here who are looking at special education. There are people here with particular interest in autism. There are a few people with that interest, whether they're in the course or whether they're thinking about the course. So it'll be a good opportunity for you to hear a little more about what we do in that space. But along with that, there are some other people, Tracy, for instance, wanting an understanding of how our sessions can assist you as an ES support teacher. And so we'll certainly be covering off on those sorts of things as we work through. I should make really clear that this webinar this evening is not actually part of the Voices of Autism MOOC. This is a separate event, so this is not part of enrolling in the Autism MOOC. This is not part of your participation in the Autism MOOC. This is really sort of separate from that, and it's about our courses. Having said that, of course, you're welcome to stay and to listen to what we are doing in this particular space. So, thank you all. And please, now that you know where the chat is, you can continue to use the chat. Robin, the session is scheduled for 1 hour. The session is also recorded though, so if you aren't able to stay for the whole time, please be assured that you will have access to a recording later. But obviously, if you're listening to the recording, you don't have the opportunity to ask questions, but you should still be able to pick up from the sorts of things other people have asked and also from the information we present along the way. So before we get into our specific courses, let me tell you just a little bit about Torrens University. Torrens University is part of the global network of Laureate International Universities, and we're really proud of that. Being part of Laureate is something that's really important for us and really important for our DNA. You may or may not have heard of Laureate, but it is one of the largest higher ed providers in the world, certainly one of the largest private higher ed providers in the world. We have very much a mission around social benefit and doing good, and Torrens fits really nicely within that overall picture. The stats on the slide here, probably slightly out of date. We do have over 60 universities in the Laureate network, spread across around 20 countries, and we do have over 1 million students enrolled in the network all around the world. So Laureate is here. Laureate is very well established. Laureate has great global connections, and we're definitely a part of that network. So within that, in Torrens University specifically, there are some of just the key points, if you like, about why we think studying at Torrens is an exciting thing to do and why this is such a great place to work. So aside from those global connections that make us part of the Laureate network, Torrens also has a number of different things that make it specifically a great place to be. Study with us is actually really flexible. Most of our courses are available in the online mode. Certainly in education, everything bar one of our courses is available in the online mode, which means you have flexibility about when and where you study. Now, I should mention though that all of our courses do run on a standard trimester model. So we run in trimesters. Each trimester is 12 weeks long. We expect you to study across that trimester, so you need to commit to engaging in your studies every week across that trimester. So when we say it's flexible and you can study where and when it suits you, you can, but we do still need you to work as part of a cohort across a defined period of time. But it's up to you whether you're going to do that on a Saturday evening or whether you're going to dip in for half an hour every night during the week. So you've got that flexibility around fitting it around your other sorts of commitments. We do have a national campus network, and as well as studying online, we do offer several of our courses now on campus. So you can come in and actually study on our campuses. Certainly in Sydney and Melbourne, our special education advanced course is offered on those campuses. And both on campus and online, we work really hard to maintain small class sizes. You're not just going to be one number amongst thousands at Torrens University. We want to know who you are. We want to know what you're interested in, what motivates you, what engages you, and you will be more than just a number to us if you come and study with us at Torrens. So I think we've already covered this ground quite well, but if you haven't yet used the chat, and we do actually prefer you to use the chat rather than use the microphone at this particular point. As I say, we'll open up for broad questions at the end, but we need to make sure that we have time for that, which means we need to keep moving along during the way. But tell us if you can, what are you here to hear about? Some people are here to hear about the MOOC. Perhaps unsurprisingly, that's very topical at the moment, starting on Monday next week. Emma, correct me if I'm wrong, this Monday next week. A couple of people have indicated they're interested in special education as well. That's great. Anything else? Is there any other courses that have brought you here or that you're interested in? Hayley is interested in special education. That's great. As you're going to discover, if you don't already know Hayley, you will find that we have quite a range of special education courses. Liz, we do offer game design at Torrens University, but unfortunately we don't have time this evening to talk about that course. That course sits within our School of Design rather than our School of Education. But hey, let's go through education. Let's get you through the MOOC, and by that stage you'll be so engaged in what we're doing that you'll be ready to hear about all of the other courses and all of our other faculties as well. So, thank you. let's get started on our courses then. So the first thing that I do need to say, and the first thing that I'd like to make really clear to everybody, is that none of the education courses that we offer at Torrens are what are called initial teacher education courses. So what that means is that Torrens doesn't currently offer any education courses that will qualify you to work as a teacher in Australian schools if you aren't already a teacher in Australian schools. So instead of that, all of our courses actually focus on some of the really important aspects of education that are relevant for people who are already teachers but who want to go further, who want to know more about particular areas, who want to pursue a path that leads them into leadership, and whether that be in schools or beyond. And so that's where our courses are pitched. It's very much not about training to be a teacher, it's about what comes next. So your initial teacher training is 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years at the start of a career, but then you're a teacher for 40 or 45 years, hopefully. So we're about what comes next. How do you keep learning? How do you keep growing? That's where our courses fit in. And Gabrielle, great to see that you're here to hear about special education, and Lynn, learning and teaching. You'll both be very pleased because we'll make sure we cover both of those things across this session. So what I wanted to do first of all is tell you a little bit about the range of courses that we offer. The triangles seem to fit quite well, I thought. If you think about the triangle in terms of the depth and the time required to cover each of these things. So we offer 3 kinds of things. The first that we offer, or the first type of program that we offer, is a MOOC. If you're not familiar with a MOOC, that stands for Massive Open Online Course. So these are really short offerings. They're generally about 4 or 5 weeks in length. Currently, we have one of these offerings available, which is the Voices of Autism. And those don't require a tremendous amount of commitment. You're looking at generally a couple of hours a week, but I'll let Emma tell you more about that MOOC in a moment. The next level up from the MOOC is at what we call our short courses. So a short course is around 12 weeks in length, and that requires more of a time commitment from you. So a short course is generally around 10 hours per week across those 12 weeks. These come from our other courses, but we pick these because they are self-contained particular areas of focus. And then finally, the largest courses that we offer that require the greatest commitment are our award courses. Now, award doesn't mean like winning a prize. Award just means a formal qualification, so a graduate certificate or a master's degree. So in this session, we're going to take you through all 3 of those types. So we'll start with the MOOC, and then we'll work down from there. So let's do exactly that. We'll start with the MOOC. So Emma, over to you. Tell us about the Voices of Autism MOOC, please.
Myself off video just for a moment. Sorry. So the MOOC, it'd be good to, I know we've got some people that have already said in the chat that they are here about the MOOC. So as Tim said, this isn't part of the MOOC, it's part of we're sharing about our courses, but I would like to share with you what is happening at the moment if you would like to enroll in the MOOC. So the MOOC is, as Tim said earlier, it's a massive open online course. Which means it's open to anyone that has access to a computer and internet. It's free, which means that is also accessible. The course starts, as Tim said, on the 30th of April, so next Monday. And if you haven't already enrolled, you need to do so before the 30th of April. You can do that by going to our Torrens homepage, which will take you to a place to register. And John might also be able to put a link up for that as well if you're not able to do that straight away. So the MOOC is all about people with autism sharing their stories, and it fits with our person-first approach, which is threaded throughout all of our special education courses. We're really proud of what we've been able to achieve with the Voices of Autism MOOC because it's come from the autism community. So everything about the MOOC has been designed, it has been created, all of the content has been developed by people with autism. And so in this case, it's the community, autism community that are the experts. So Torrens University has really said, here's the platform, and let's share with the wider community about autism. Over to you, Tim.
Emma, great. So that's the MOOC, and we've got a few questions about the MOOC there. I can confirm that for this offering, Voices of Autism, there is no cost for you. So when we're talking about fees and so on and so forth, we're talking about our other offerings. If you've already signed up for the MOOC, if you're thinking about signing up for this MOOC, we're not going to ask you for your credit card information, I promise you. This MOOC is free of charge. And Emma's told you a little bit about that. Now, as we say, we don't unfortunately have a lot of time in this session. This session is not specifically focused on the MOOC, so we will move on at this point. If you do have a couple of other burning questions, please do feel free to put those in the chat, but please do be aware that we are going to keep moving on at this point and talk about our other courses and our other offerings. Speaking of other offerings, the next thing up from the MOOC in terms of amount of time that you need to commit both on a weekly basis and in terms of the number of weeks are our short courses. And it's my great pleasure to this point to hand you over to Mick, the Dean of Education. Mick, tell us about the short courses, please.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to meet you all, and it's great to see so many people wanting to know more about the Torrens education courses. So as Tim mentioned, our short courses are single subjects which are taken from one of our award courses. So they're a subject taken from our graduate certificate or our master's courses, and they focus on particular topics. So the topics that they tend to focus on are there's a course on autism, there's a course on dyslexia, and there are some courses on mental health. Now, the beauty of these single subjects is they are full subjects, but they don't have any specific entry requirements. So anybody can enter these short courses and do one of our 12-week short courses as they wish, which is great. You might wish to take one of these courses for 3 reasons. Firstly, you might just be interested in a particular topic. So you might be interested in autism, therefore you might wish to take a slightly longer course than our MOOC and take a 12-week course in autism. Or you might want to take one of these as a taster before you embark in one of our grad certs or our master's courses. And if you do that and take a single subject, once you enroll in our graduate certificate, you've already done one of the subjects or part of our graduate certificate. And thirdly, you might want to enroll in one of our graduate certificates or our master's courses, but you don't have the required qualifications. So what you might, you may not have a degree, for instance, and might wish to do a graduate certificate, but you wouldn't be able to get into our graduate certificates normally without a degree. Take one of our short courses and successfully complete it, and that gives you the entry requirements for our award courses. Which is quite unusual way of getting in, but a really good way of giving everyone access to our courses. So that's our short courses. Back to you, Tim.
Thanks so much, Mick. So as Shirl's just posted in response to a few questions that have come up, there is a course fee attached to those short courses. Shirl will have all of that information and we'll be happy to share that with you. It is only the MOOC that has no specific course costs attached to it. So short courses do and award courses do as well. And I'll just use that as my sort of transition point into introducing our award courses. So these are the ones that lead to a formal qualification outcome. And these are the only ones, I should say, that lead to a formal qualification outcome. As Mick's explained, you can use short courses as pathways into these, but it's only once you get to the award course level that you come out with a formal recognised Australian Qualifications Framework qualification. And at this stage, all of the qualifications that we offer are either at the graduate certificate or at the master's level. And you'll find that our courses are grouped into 3 broad categories. So the first category is special education, and we know that there are a number of you who are here with an interest in that, which is fantastic. And so you'll hear about those courses, and we actually have quite a range of courses in that space. As I said earlier, this is something that we are really passionate about and really enthusiastic about, and so we will take you through the specific offerings that we have in that space. Second area is what we've just called teaching and learning. That's sort of a bit miscellaneous, but these are the ones that have a really strong focus on practice in a specific field. And I'll take you through those when we get to that point. And finally, the third area that we have that we think is as exciting as the other two, and in some ways even perhaps a little bit more exciting, but that's my own bias. I know that Emma and Mick are particularly passionate about special education, but the third area is innovation and change. And this is really about activating leadership from within schools. And so I'll talk to you about that when we work to that particular stream. But first of all, Emma, tell us about special education and why this area is so fantastic in the way that we deal with it at Torrens.
Thanks, Tim. So I am going to take you through our special education courses, which, as Tim said, we're very proud of because they are innovative and they're contemporary. So take you through some of the details of that. And it's so wonderful to see we've got so many people here that are wanting to learn more about special education. What's really important up front is that our courses in special education are for mainstream schools. So if there are teachers that are wanting to get a qualification to work in a special education school, this course is specifically for mainstream schools. I'll move on, Tim, thank you. So we've got our Masters of Education in Special Education, and this is for people that are interested to learn more about listening to the voice of the person with special needs, different conditions that need contemporary support. So we're moving away from a textbook approach. We're actually using people that are within the industry to inform the content that goes into our courses. And we think that's particularly important in special education because it's really important that it comes from people with the conditions. So the admission requirement for this course is that it is a bachelor degree or above or an Australian university relevant field of study. So education, counselling, psychology and other health related may be relevant. So it's a 12-subject postgraduate qualification and as I mentioned it's innovative with a unique approach to understanding individuals with special education. Okay, so what we have here is our course structure. So you can see, starting with the blue box, we have autism, and the first subject there is person first in autism, and that fits into our short course structure as well that Mick was mentioning earlier. So autism stream takes us through person first in autism, autism across the lifespan, and autism contemporary practices. And that is a graduate certificate. It means that you can work up to a master's course if you go on to complete the following graduate certificate. So, for instance, you might be really interested in mental health, and therefore you take the subject Introduction to Mental Health Conditions, and then move through to mental health in context, and then taking mental health through to educational practice. That too might be where you start and then realise that you're really interested to progress into learning differences or autism, and then that will be going toward your reaching your master's course. So then we also have electives, and that comes from innovation and change thinking, and that means that when you've learnt the information around how to support individuals and families with various special education, various special conditions, it means that you're able to use that information to actually implement that in a dynamic way.
So Emma, there's a couple of questions that I thought it might be good if you could respond to these. So Pat Larkin has asked, are these courses, special education courses, applicable for higher education, or is it specifically for primary, secondary school?
That's a really good question. It goes across the board. So Pat, this is suitable for anyone that is interested to learn more and support a range of different ages. That's what's really important about how we have designed these courses, that they are education focused, but they fit from early childhood right up to higher education. We have a number of people from different backgrounds that do our courses, from counsellors, we have teacher support, we have teachers, principals, other school leaders that come in and do our courses, and of course academics as well. So,
thanks, Emma. And just one more question, which is from Wendy Kirby. So Wendy said, will this benefit those who work with special needs clients and autistic clients, or will it only benefit you if you are a teacher?
That's another good question, Wendy. Absolutely, it will support those who work in disability support or any special need clients, as you've mentioned there. It benefits anyone that has wanting to learn more about autism or mental health or special education in general, and that's again why the courses have been written the way they are. Okay, so you're going to meet here Janelle, who's one of our Master of Special Education. Now, Janelle's already got a Master's and she already works in a special education school, but she's chosen to come to Torrens because she wants to stay up to date with educational research and practices. She spent the last few years establishing new special education classes at her school. This course has the topics I want to learn more about, and I can apply them to my teaching straight away. I felt that there was nothing holding me back from returning to university, so I enrolled. And Janelle, I can speak for her. She's started off in the autism stream, and now she's gone on to do some innovation and change subjects so that she can start to implement that practical way of supporting children in her school. Excellent. Okay, so there are a number of autism-related qualifications around Australia now, but ours is one of the only ones that really places the experience of individuals with autism at the centre of the experience. So we use the innovative approach called person first, and you will hear we say that a lot in special education, just because it's so important that we do meet people where they're at and not going with any expectations. It's really important that we see people as an individual. So therefore we choose not to go down the pathway of textbooks. We're actually going to learn from people, their experiences. So in this way we move away from a stereotypical view of individuals with autism and instead look at the varying needs and different supports. So you can see there that this is a 4-subject graduate certificate qualification, much the same as we have in mental health and learning differences. And again, this is not just for teachers; it's for anyone with a role or interest in supporting individuals with autism.
So Emma, sorry to again, but Julie Oliver's just asked a really interesting question. Are these courses suitable for mature age students over 50? Yes, they are. We've got a number of mature age students actually, and they're all really engaged, and we've got I think that's really important because we all come together with a common interest and want to learn more about the condition, and so therefore our varying experiences all come together at any stage of learning about autism. You right to keep going, Tim? Absolutely, yes. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Great answer, Emma.
I'm on a roll. You might need to stop me from talking when I get so excited about our courses. So I'll go on to talk about mental health. So again, this is a really interesting course in the sense that we have gone out to the wider community and we've co-designed our mental health course with speakers that have experiences of anxiety and depression, eating disorders, and that's how we start off our mental health graduate certificate. And then we move into what does mental health actually look like in context. So where you're in day-to-day life with employment, with education. So we go through all of the different facets of how mental health support impacts people and their families. And we also look at what does that look like from a global perspective. So we also go more widely than what we're looking at in terms of our own backyard, but we also look more broadly. So as I mentioned, we focus on a unique insight, so going out to the community, and it addresses a significant gap in the professional development opportunities available to teachers. And it's also, this requires a bachelor degree or above from an Australian university or a relevant field of study.
So Emma just asked, as a relief teacher, I may not have access to a class to complete assignments. Will this be a problem?
No, it won't be. We have all of our courses are designed to be flexible. So that means that depending on your context or where you're learning or where you're wanting to apply that new knowledge, that's the way we're able to manage the way our courses are developed and delivered. in answer to your question, I'm trying to read the question. Where was it again, Tim, so I can finish it off? So no, it won't be a problem, Terry.
Thanks, Emma.
Okay, so Robert is another one of our students. He's completing his graduate certificate of education in mental health. He has a lived experience, and he was attracted to the course because he wanted to learn more about mental health, and he is a teacher. And so he thought that this would be the place to go. And I know that Rob is a very passionate learner about mental health. And so he wants to be able to help people in their endeavour to combat mental health. And so Rob's doing just that by being in our courses. Excellent. So we move on to the Graduate Certificate of Education, Special Education. So this too has the same requirements that you will have seen in our other graduate certificates. This is a taster course, and it covers a range of subjects from the other grad cert qualifications. So that includes dyslexia, mental health, autism, and the others that are in this graduate certificate. So here we are, we've got the Graduate Certificate of Education. So this is on learning differences. And this again is a unique insight to the experiences of individuals with a range of learning differences. So it includes, but is not limited to, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and ADHD. And what's been really important, again, is we've gone out to the industry, we've gone out to people that work day to day in these areas and roles, and we've got them to put together the content with us so that we could focus on problem solving and drawing on contemporary theory and personal experience. Right. So the Graduate Certificate of Education in Learning Differences. This course has been specifically designed to support educators and carers of children with diverse learning differences. So much what I just said earlier. And the course introduces strategies that can be directly implemented in the class. Okay, so the Masters of Special Education Advanced, so this is the same as our Master of Education, but given that it's advanced, it means that we go more broadly into looking at problem solving, contemporary theory and personal experience, and we also look at more leadership electives as well, so that's a really important component of the advanced course. So the undergraduate degree in a relevant field, and there's an IELTS of 6.5. Okay, so this is the advanced version. So this actually talks more. You can see the extra electives. So they're a little bit small on my screen, but I think they're a bit bigger on yours. Tim, are you able to read those out?
Sure, in terms of, so there are three kind of categories of electives in the Special Education Advanced, and because this course is offered on campus, we've picked a range of electives that are also offered on campus. So the first box, if you like, let me see if I can find a way to draw. I think I can. No. Anyway, so the top box there is around innovation, design thinking, there we go, technology, interpreting data. So those are all further studies in education. So these are all other subjects that we offer you that allow you to take a much deeper dive into different aspects of education. The middle box, I'll just draw an arrow to that one. These are subjects around managing people and teams, dynamic leadership, and there's a whole range of others in there around managing people. They're actually drawn from our management courses here at Torrens. So one of the nice features of our courses is that once you get to the Special Education Advanced, it is interdisciplinary. So that means you're not just studying education, although you can take a really deep dive into education. You also have the opportunity to study a little more widely, which is what gives you the advanced. You can kind of specialize in another area. And then the final area here is around social enterprise, program design, working with young people. So a broader focus than classroom, and these are still about working with young people and children and in that kind of space. And these come from design and also from our colleagues in counselling.
Thanks, Tim. So I'm going to finish up my section of the webinar, and I'd just like to share with you what students say about our special education courses. So Torrens presented itself as an institution 100% committed to higher learning that could be applied directly and meaningfully in the workplace. Now that I'm a year into my master's course, I haven't been disappointed. Almost every single reading and conversation has generated a new and exciting initiative for me to launch at work. Another one is my favourite part of studying this course is how much work its designers and facilitators have done to make it apply directly to my professional context. And the third one there is Torrens based their courses on real life issues. Each module contains real life case studies and readings that touch on contemporary issues. Though extremely engaging, some content and case studies may be confronting as you look back and reflect on your own experiences. But you'll be amazed at how closely linked each mental health disorder is and how common they are. So that's it from me in terms of sharing about the special ed. Is there any other questions for me, Tim?
No, none that I've seen. Or Lynn's just saying, if you're doing the autism course, or I will broaden this out into if you're doing any of our courses, do you have to participate online live, or are there recordings?
So within the way we run our subjects is that we have our courses means that online you have access to all of the content, and then typically the lecturer runs a weekly engaging so very similar to what we're doing here, so that there's ability to share ideas and conversations and ask questions about content and assessments, for instance. But these, of course, are recorded as well if you're not able to attend those weekly sessions.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Emma. And you can, I'm sure you can all see and hear Emma's great enthusiasm and interest and passion for special education and really offering courses that are meeting a need where we saw gaps in the traditional offerings that other universities were providing. And you'll see on the special education slide there where students are talking about their experience, we're really proud of what they have to say about our courses and some of the things they identify there around touching on real life issues, on contemporary issues, on making that connection to the workplace and to the lives of our students. That's really fundamental for us, and we believe in that across all of our courses. It has to be relevant. It has to be about where you're at and learning that you can use. That's what we think is really important for people who are teachers. And that applies across all of our courses, not just special ed. So let's take our special ed hats off and let's now look at some of our other course streams as well. So the second area you might recall from that slide a long time ago was that we have a set of courses around what are just called teaching and learning courses. There's only two here, but they both have a really strong focus on practice, but slightly different kinds of practice. So the first course in this space is our Master of Education Reading and Literacy. So Reading and Literacy is an 8-subject Masters. So it's, as far as Masters courses go, it's a fairly accelerated program. It's shorter than some other Masters courses. And this one is a really, really deep dive into literacy. So it's a deep dive into literacy for people who are primary teachers, middle school teachers, secondary teachers, those people who might have an interest in this area, who maybe have been doing some work with their class or in their school as a literacy leader and think this is where they want to go next. This course is for you. What you might find in a traditional Masters of Education course is that they generally have quite a broad base. So you might do, say, 6 or 8 general units, and then you'll only have a little bit of time at the end to focus on what's really important to you. This course has been set up from the start, from the ground up, to be wholly and solely about literacy. So if this is what you're interested in, this is a great course for you to do. And it takes a really wide look. So we look at literacy assessment, we look at meeting diverse needs, we look at literacy interventions for helping to bring up students who might be struggling, we look at how you extend students who are doing really well. And so it really is about that whole experience. And this course this is actually one of our longest courses. We've been running this for the longest amount of time. We have a number of graduates in this course, and what they tell us about it is that it really is that practice and that focus back on the classroom that makes this a really valuable qualification. As I said earlier, these courses you do need to have some prior study in education, and certainly for the Reading and Literacy course you actually need to have a teaching qualification already to gain entry, but it will take you to that next level and allow you to become a real leader in this space. The second and the final course in that learning and teaching stream is our Graduate Certificate of Learning and Teaching. Reading and Literacy is one of our older courses. This is actually probably still our newest course. And the Grad Cert of Learning and Teaching is really about learning and teaching in higher education. So this one is looking at learning and teaching practice that's for schooling after Year 12. So particularly university, but there's also some material there for vocational education. And this is really about those people who want to become expert teachers in the university setting. What you would find increasingly is that lots of universities are looking at a qualification like this or some kind of expertise in this space as a prerequisite. This gets your foot in the door to working in a university context. And there's a lot in here that's really about practice, and it's really about you finding out where are there issues, where are there opportunities in your teaching, and taking you to the next level and taking you to the next sort of step. Because this is focused on universities, it really does have as an entry requirement that you need to be working in that sort of context. And that's the primary admission requirement for this course. If you're working as a teacher, or if you have some contact with students in a higher ed setting, then that's grounds for you to come into this course and study. We talk about this course being practice first. You might see that over on the left of the slide. So what we're talking about when we talk about a practice first course is that we don't start with dry theory and ask you to write 5,000-word essays about theorists and tell us about Vygotsky or whoever it might be. What we do instead is we spend lots of time in each subject asking you to share your experiences. What are the things that are challenging you? What are the questions you have in your teaching practice? We set tasks that require you to write about that setting, to speak with other people in the setting, to identify where there might be opportunities for change. And then along the way, we'll link that to relevant theory. So this is still a postgrad qualification. You'll still learn a lot and read a lot and understand a lot more about higher ed practice as a result of it, but it's filtered through you and what you do. And so you get a really nice portfolio of practice by the end of this as well. And we make sure you have lots of opportunity to use your learning along the way. So here's what some of our graduates in this course have had to say about it. So you can see here the sorts of things that they're highlighting are again similar to what the things highlighted by our special education students were. So a great platform for us to be able to learn from each other. Such an awesome course. I feel stretched and invigorated and really ready to be able to face the challenges of the new year. And someone talks about what they've learned about theory and how that links to their practice. And somebody else says you're supported and that the teacher is really encouraging, supportive and motivating, and that's a really important recipe in the mix of postgrad study. And the final comment there sort of says it all. It's totally relevant for all lecturing staff. I wish I'd undertaken it years ago. Apart from the relevance of the course content, the simple action of being a student again allows the lecturer to gain insights into the student experience. So powerful praise, powerful course. We're getting really transformative outcomes from that with our initial group of students who are now our initial groups of graduates who are going on to take leadership roles in higher education, and that's really exciting for us. So that's learning and teaching. I've been keeping an eye on the chat. I'm not seeing too many questions about learning and teaching, but if you have any, please don't hesitate to type those in there. But of course, you'll all get the information if you've requested it from Cheryl as well. But let me tell you, before we open up to any questions you might have, let me tell you about the third stream, which are our innovation and change courses. I get really excited about these courses, let me just say. These are first and foremost leadership courses. They're very much about making changes, improving schools, but we have a slightly different view to what that might look like. And in our view, the best way or the best form of leadership to change schools is leadership that comes from schools. So this course, these courses are very much about activating change and activating teachers to have the skills, the knowledge and the processes to be agents for change in their classrooms, in their schools, in their districts and beyond. So there are two courses in this suite. There is a graduate certificate, which is 4 subjects, and there is a master's, which is 8 subjects. The good thing is the master's is the first 4 from the grad cert, plus another 4 on the end. So you can either enroll in the master's up front and do all 8, you can enroll in the grad cert and see how that sits with you, and when you finish the grad cert, you might decide to go on and do the master's. So it's got that same kind of flexibility built into it. So in terms of this grad cert of innovation and change, it really is 4-subject grad cert, but it's about that providing you with the tools and the skills to identify where there might be opportunities for change in your setting, and then a set of processes to actually go about making changes. But it's not just about you working on your own in isolation. This course enables you to know how to build up a network of people who can help you make change, how to consult with the people affected by that change, and then sort of how you go about putting that into place. One of the things that's really exciting about this course is that we actually open this one up to cohorts as well as to individual students. So if you're in a school and maybe there's 8 or 9 or 10 of you, or you're in a cluster of schools and you can put together 10 or so teachers who all have an interest in doing this course, we can work with you as a cohort together. So you would study together, you would have meetings with the lecturer together where you'd work through the assignments and talk about how you can make them relevant for you. And it really does take that course and put it in your context. So it's even easier for you to see what are the steps you need to go through and how can you work together, because you're working in a community throughout the course. So we think that's a really exciting model. And we have a cohort who've been working now for, Emma, this is their 2nd trimester, isn't it? They're heading into their 3rd trimester soon in South Australia. And you'll see some of a quote from one of those cohort members a little later on. So as I said, the Masters is the first 4 subjects drawn from the grad cert, and then another 4 subjects on the end. What does it add on when it goes from being a grad cert to a master's? It really adds on an opportunity for you to go into more depth. So we add in a few extra subjects, but what we really add in is a big project where you get the chance to learn about research and to actually take that into your setting and make a change. I should say that in order to get into the grad cert or the Master of Education, Innovation and Change, again, you need at least 4 years of formal teacher education, whether that be a Bachelor of Education degree or whether that be an undergraduate degree plus a 2-year postgraduate teaching qualification. Either of those will get you straight in. The other thing that you require for these courses is access to an education setting across the course of your studies. So because this course is so applied, because it is about putting that process into practice, you do need to have access to a setting where you can make those changes. That's not to say you have to be a teacher with your own classroom, but if you're working in an education support role and you have some capacity within that role to make changes, it would work for you. Even if you're a principal and you don't have your own class, you've got plenty of opportunities there in your setting to look at what changes you can make and how you might make improvements. So that's what it's all about. And these are the subjects. And when you see these, I think you get a sense about why this looks a little different to your traditional masters. So we start off with a subject called Design Thinking for Education. Design thinking really is a fancy way of saying this is about working out who's in your setting, what's important to them, and how you can all work together to identify and then try to solve problems or make improvements to that setting. Then you take a dive into innovation for education and technology. Now, both of those subjects are not about here's the next best app for you to use in your classroom or here's the next big iPad that you need to buy. It's more about how can you make intelligent decisions about how to incorporate technology and about what kinds of innovations are important for you. Then you do a small project, a professional learning project, which is an opportunity to put some of this into practice in a small sort of way, and then that's your grad cert. But if you're doing the masters, you then do some additional subjects. The first there is around educational leadership. Then you have a subject that I want to do, which is about understanding and interpreting educational data. So with all of the data that's in classrooms and schools these days, it's about understanding how to work with that and how to make changes based on data and how to know if those changes are being effective. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you finish off with a project. Here's what a current student had to say about the Design Thinking course. So I had my expectations exceeded with the Design Thinking for Education course. The online course videos and weekly live video conferencing that you heard Emma talk about before were truly exceptional and reflect highly on the innovative changes Torrens University have made to their offerings. This is one of our students saying this. We didn't ask them to say this, they chose to say this, and it's very much what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to be innovative, we're aiming to be supportive, we're aiming to put you in a setting where you're working with other people and it's dynamic and it's vibrant and you're learning all kinds of things from the materials, from the assessments, and importantly from each other. So that's the three streams, and I'm conscious that I need to provide lots of time at the end for you to ask questions, and I promise you I'm almost finished. So the last slide that I thought I would share with you is just to recap some of those key points that Emma and Mick and I have made along the way. So what's different about us? Why might you consider Torrens? Well, first of all, we think there are some characteristics of our courses that are quite exciting, and we, from the very start of building a course, make sure it's going to be these things. So for us, a course has to be relevant. So it has to be connected to your work, whether that be as teachers, whether that be supporting students with additional needs, whatever role you might have, we want our courses to speak to that role. We want them to be authentic, meaning we want you to be able to develop, practice and get feedback on the kinds of skills that are going to be useful for you in the context in which you work. We want them to be engaging. There's no point just giving you a bunch of dusty readings and sending you off to write assignments. That's not a powerful learning experience, and that's not going to give you the best experience out of your postgraduate qualification. So for us, it's about drawing on active learning. It's about giving you a range of different kinds of materials. And those of you who are in the MOOC, you will see this from next week. There's videos, there's discussions, there's different kinds of activities, there's provocative questions. There's lots of ways of getting you to think and work with each other and perhaps work a little differently. And our courses are inclusive. We know that all of you are busy people. We try to design our courses in such a way that they will respect that. It's not to say that you don't need to invest any time, but we try to make it so that the time you invest is well invested and you get a lot of return on that. Then our subjects are practice first. As I said earlier, they're about application to theory. They're about knowing the context and drawing out of that the thinking and the ideas that are relevant. They are experiential, and again, you've heard Emma talk about how we co-design so that all of our courses are built alongside and with the support of people who have the experience that we think it's important for you to understand. And that's when we talk about developed by experts. Experts for us are not necessarily the university professors who've spent 40 years researching and writing on this stuff and haven't set foot in the classroom in even longer than that. For us, the experts are the people who know it, inside out, back to front, upside down. So for innovation and change, we have the support of educational consultants and lead teachers and people who are doing this in schools on a day-to-day basis. In our Voices of Autism MOOC, in our short courses around Person First in Autism, and in our Grad Cert in Autism, for instance, those courses are all co-designed with individuals who are living with autism or caring for individuals with autism. They, for us, are the experts. They're the people who can tell us the most. And they're all based on a cohort model, as I described earlier, and we're really happy to talk to you more about that, and Joel will be able to start those conversations with you about how you might put a cohort together and what might be the advantages of studying in that mode. So that's all from me. We have exactly 8 minutes left in the session. So it's now over to you to ask any questions that you might have, and I'll have a go at answering them. But if I think Mick or Emma are going to have better answers than me, I will throw to them. And on that note, Mick, there's a question here about short courses from Julie Oliver. Can you enroll in a short course at any time during the year, or are there set dates?
So yes, we with our short courses, they are obviously the same courses as the subject in our grad certs and our masters. So to enroll in a short course, it really has to be done in one of the trimesters. So we have 3 trimesters. Trimester 1 tends to start in February. Trimester 2 starts in around about June, and trimester 3 in about September. So they tend to run across the 3 trimesters, but obviously, you know, they are the set dates for running these particular courses, because you actually would be part of a bigger cohort. You know, there would be students in there probably from a master's course or grad cert course as well, so that you have got a large number of people that you'll be learning with.
Thanks, Mick. And as Mick's highlighted, the reason for that is because we do think it's important for you to be working as a community of practice and working with others in other sorts of contexts. And so if we have those defined start dates, it means you're starting with a group of other students. So Cheryl has thank you, Cheryl, you're amazing on that chat. So Cheryl's put in there the short course commencing dates. So February was our first round. We have another intake on the 4th of June, and then our final intake for the year on the 17th of September. And they do all run for that 12-week duration. Any other questions? Don't leave not having taken this wonderful opportunity to talk to all of us here now live. I mean, if any questions come to you later, please don't hesitate. I'm going to drop you in it here, Cheryl. Please don't hesitate to contact Cheryl, and I'm sure she will be able to either answer your question or direct your inquiry on to us if it's more sort of related to the content of a course. Julie, Oliver, Emma, this is one for you. What time does the MOOC start on Monday?
You can access the MOOC from 9 AM on next Monday, the 30th of April. That's when it starts. You'll get a reminder to say we're ready now for you to log in and get started. But do make sure, Julie, that you have enrolled through Open Education. So you should have a username and password. So that's really important that you do have that organised.
Thank you, Emma. Mick, there's been a couple of questions about this, most recently from Dee. Do you have many MOOC courses available?
So this is probably the first MOOC that we've launched, and we're quite excited about it. I think anybody who does it, is going to have a fantastic learning experience. We do intend also to probably run other MOOCs next year. We are planning at the moment on running a mental health MOOC, which will probably cover anxiety and depression. At the moment, that is in the planning stage, so we have no dates or further information for that. But this won't be our only MOOC. We will run others, and we have other ideas in the pipeline. So watch this space. It's well worth staying connected to the Torrens community, connected to us. Watch our website, and we will have more to come beyond the Autism MOOC.
Fantastic, thank you, Mick. But what we need from you in order for that to work is we need all of you who are signed up for the MOOC to get in there on Monday and to work through those materials and to stick at it and to really participate across the 4 weeks. It's up to you what you get out of that MOOC. I hope that you'll get a lot out of it, and Mick and Emma and I have all had a lot to do in terms of looking at the MOOC and putting it together. Emma more than Mick and I, it has to be said. But it's been wonderful for us to see it sort of take shape, and we're really excited that Monday is so close now and that it's coming out to you, and we know that you're all going to have a fantastic experience. So please do get in there and make the most of it. So a couple of other non-MOOC related questions. Frania has said, are the word counts in assignments restrictive or very tight? Frania, that's one of those how long is a piece of string questions, because my version of restrictive might be your version of very loose. We do have, in general, per subject, most of our subjects at postgrad level would have between 4,000 and 5,000 words of assessment. That would be split across a couple of different assessment tasks though. I'm very proud to say we have no exams, and so please don't think you'll be coming in and sitting a lot of exams. And a lot of our assessment work is portfolio based, it's case study based. It comes back to our focus on application. So you're doing things and then you're gathering the evidence that says that you've done them and reflecting on what you've achieved. So we don't have a lot of issues with word counts really. It tends to be that people get engaged in the tasks and that they sort of just seem to find them quite okay. Frania again, being a mature age student, are there demands for multimedia assignment requirements? There are some. This is a 21st century university course, all of our courses, and so we do expect students to be able to undertake basic sorts of multimedia tasks. But hey, you got here tonight, you logged in, you're here, you're chatting, you're participating, you're asking questions. There's very little that you'll need to do that's any more complicated than the process you've been through tonight. And if you do, then you'll certainly have support in terms of the kinds of resources you need to do those things. I don't think that the demands are particularly onerous. I don't think that we've had feedback from students to say that they can't manage or that they aren't supported in that process. So I think that where we do ask you to do multimedia things, it's for a reason. It's authentic, it's relevant, it's connected to the sorts of things you would be doing in your practice anyway, and so for that reason it tends to work. So I think our time is pretty much up. Tony's asked a really good question just to finish us off. I'm interested in the Graduate Certificate Innovation and Change course. Are the start dates the same as mentioned previously? Tony, they are. So because those short courses run in our standard trimesters, those are in fact the dates for the commencement of any of our award courses as well. So we have an intake early June. It is not too late to get into that if you're interested, and Cheryl can hook you up with that pretty quick smart. So if you're interested and you think that's a course that you're ready to participate in, talk to Cheryl and we can get that underway for you. If you're interested and you're thinking about later in the year, the good news is we do have another intake later in the year in September. But I would say start that conversation with Cheryl now so you know what's expected, you know sort of what you need to have in place in order to get that started. Thank you all. I know there's been lots of questions about the MOOC that we haven't necessarily had an opportunity to answer all of those questions. Please be assured that when the MOOC opens on Monday, you will have ample time and ample opportunities in there for anything that hasn't yet been resolved. And don't hesitate to reach out to us beforehand if you just can't work out how to get in or how to set up your username and password for open education or whatever it might be. I'm going to switch to our thank you slide. You can see 3 of us who've been here tonight here in our best, and we are indeed very grateful for you giving up your time on a Thursday evening to come along and hear a little more about our courses. I hope it's been useful for you. Don't hesitate to get in contact if you have any more questions, and we really look forward to the MOOC, but we also really look forward to our other courses, our short courses, our award courses, new intake in June. Hope to see as many of you as are ready there in that session, and keep in touch with us. The nice thing is you're now connected with us, and I know Cheryl's a great point of contact for you. She can answer just about any question and she knows who to ask if she can't answer them up front. So keep in touch. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you all.